Magandang araw. So now we will discuss the history of Diosdado Macapagal, one of the former presidents of the Philippines. And we will identify his performance as a president, his agrarian reform policy, and land reform, the problems and challenges he encountered, and achievements and programs during his presidential term. But before tayo mag-start, magpapakilala muna ako. And my name is Jonna Serena A. Lucas at ang mga kasama ko po ay sina Sherry Ann Magno at Mark Liwanag. Diosdado Macapagal was born on 1910 and he died in 1997 at the age of 86. Siya po ay pang-9 President of the Philippines from 1961 to 1965. And he also is the 5th President of the Third Republic, the second President of the 1917 Philippines Constitutional Convention, and 6th Vice President of the Philippines from 1957 and 1961. So his childhood and early life. So Diosdado Macapagal was born on September 28, 1910 in Lubao, Pampanga, Philippine Islands. Diosdado Macapagal was the middle of the 5 children of the Urbano Macapagal, Romero, and Romana Pangan Macapagal. So his father was a poet who composed poems in the local Pampangan language. The family was impoverished and ran a boarding house out of their home for extra income, and they also had a style. Because of such a background, Macapagal received the moniker the poor boy from Lubao. His educational and early career. Diosdado Macapagal was an exceptional student. He was a valedictorian at Lubao Elementary School and salutatorian at Pampanga High School, and obtained a pre-law degree from the University of the Philippines. And in 1932, he started attending Philippine Law School, where he demonstrated his skills as an orator or speaker and debater. During this period, he worked as an accountant to support himself, but however, he had to drop out because of poor health and financial reasons after 2 years. But eventually, he acquired enough money to go back to school and enrolled at the University of Santo Tomas. In 1936, Macapagal earned a Bachelor of Law degree and subsequently joined the bar. He obtained a Master of Laws degree in 1941, a Doctor of Civil Law degree in 1947, and a PhD in Economics in 1957. He also came first at the 1936 bar examination with a score of 89.95% and was later appointed legal assistant to President Manuel L. Quezon in Malacañang Palace. After Japan occupied the Philippines, he helped the anti-Japanese resistance in secret during the Allied liberation against the Japanese. Following the creation of the independent republic at the Philippines in 1946, he held various important portfolios in the foreign service of the country, and in 1949 he was promoted to serve as a counselor on legal affairs and treaties. Initial years in politics. In 1949, on the request of President Elpidio Quirino, Diosdado Macapagal returned from Washington, USA, to successfully contest for the House of Representatives seat from 1st District of Pampanga as a Liberal Party candidate. He was re-elected in the 1953 election, holding the seat for 8 years in total in the Second and Third Congress. During his time in Congress, he was made chairman at the Committee on Foreign Affairs and accomplished various crucial diplomatic tasks, including serving multiple terms as a Philippine delegate to the United Nations General Assembly. His work as representative predominantly revolved around the betterment of the condition of the poor and rural areas. He wrote and endorsed several vital socio-economic bills. In 1957, Macapagal became the Vice President of the Philippines. His election was unprecedented in the sense that there has not been a vice president from a rival party than that of the president in the history of the country before him. However, he was not allowed to join the Carlo P. Garcia administration by the ruling party and spent his 4 years term as the leader of the opposition. So, performance as President of the Philippines. So, Diosdado Macapagal defeated Garcia in the 1961 presidential election and took office as the ninth President of the Philippines on December 13, 1961. Former public servant Emmanuel Pelaez served as his vice president. And during his presidency, several legislations were signed into law, including an act to implement the Agricultural Land Reform Code para sa magsasaka and the minimum wage law. He is particularly known for changing the country's observance as Independence Day from July 4 to June 12. He took several measures to remove corruption from the government and improve the country's economy. Among them were putting the peso on the free currency exchange market, actively supporting its exports, and introducing several steps to reduce income tax evasion. The loss was providing the serious problem for the Philippines as the wealthiest families of the country after found various loopholes, to avoid paying taxes.
Agrarian Reform Policy. President Diosdado Macapagal was considered the father of agrarian reform. It was during his term that the Agricultural Land Reform Code or Republic Act No. 3844 was enacted on August 8, 1963. This was considered to be the most comprehensive piece of agrarian reform legislation ever enacted in the country that time. Si President Diosdado Macapagal was considered the father of agrarian reform. On August 8, 1963, the Agricultural Land Reform Code was enacted o pinagtibay po siya. Ito po is considered as the most comprehensive piece of agrarian reform legislation. The Republic Act No. 3844 of August 8, 1963, or the Agricultural Land Reform Code, abolished share tenancy, institutional leasehold, set retention limit at 75 hectares, invested rights of preemption and redemption, for tenant farmers, provided for an administrative machinery for implementation, institutionalized a judicial system of agrarian cases, incorporated extension, marketing, and supervised credit system of services of farmer beneficiaries. Dito po is nagkaroon po siya ng retention sa pagkakaroon po ng malaking ektarya. Ang mga malalaking kumpanya po ay meron lamang pong 75 hectares. Nagkaroon din po dito ng exemption sa batas na ito kapag po malaki po yung kumpanya nyo is maaari lang po kayong magsamsam at kumuha pa at magkaroon pa ng masigit pa sa 75 hectares. Nagkaroon din po dito ng transfer of landlordism dahil nga po ayaw po ng mga landlord na ipagbili o ayaw po nila na makuha yung mga lupain nila ng mga magsasakang nais bumili ng mga lupa nila. Kaya ang ginawa po nila is ipinagpalit-palit po nila yung mga magsasakang ito. Kaya kung kaya't po isa po to sa mabibigat na problema sa panahon ni President Diosdado Macapagal. The historic signing of the Agricultural Land Reform Code on August 8, 1963. The historic signing of the Agricultural Land Reform Code on August 8, 1963 at the Agrifina Circle in Luneta, Manila, together with the President, where Senator Ferdinand Marcos is in the left and Speaker Cornelio Villarreal is in the right. The said code finally abolished the centuries-old institution of tenancy. On August 8, 1963, the Agricultural Land Reform Code was signing and naganap po to sa Agrifina Circle in Luneta, Manila, together with the President, kung saan po si Senator Ferdinand Marcos po is, kung makikita nyo po sa larawan, is nasa left po siya, and si Speaker Cornelio Villarreal is nasa right po siya. And yung nasabing code po is finally po is natapos na po. Diosdado Macapagal, 1961 to 1965. Land Reform. Like Ramon Magsaysay, President Diosdado Macapagal came from the masses. He savored to call himself the poor boy from Lubao. Ironically, he had little popularity among the masses. This could be attributed to an absence of charismatic appeal of his stiff personality. But despite this, Macapagal had certain achievements. Foremost of these was the Agricultural Land Reform Code of 1963 or Republic Act No. 3844, which provided for the purchase of private farmlands with the intention of distributing them in small lots to the landless tenants on easy term of payment. Like Ramon Magsaysay, President Diosdado Macapagal is nanggaling din po siya sa masa. Nasarapan po siyang tawagin yung sarili niyang poor boy from Lubao. Sa kabila po nito, si President Diosdado is meron po siyang certain achievements, at ang pinakamahalaga po dito is yung the Agricultural Land Reform Code o yung tinatawag po na Republic Act No. 3844. Kung saan po nagkaroon po dito ng retention sa pag-distribute ng mga pribadong lupain sa mga walang lupang magsasaka on easy term of payment. Maaari po ang kanilang pagbabayad is hulug-hulugan po.
Problem and challenges encountered in his terms. He prevented his government from tracking down the sources of corruption by firing the officers alleged with corruption and deporting Stonehill. This way, he got in the way of one of his promises. Macapagal wasn't able to effectively maximize the programs for the people to alleviate poverty. Primary problems. Ito ba yung mga primary problems ng term ni Macapagal? low living standard of the masses, lack of economic stability, unemployment, devaluation of the Philippine peso. Dahil nga po bagsak ang ekonomiya nung term ni Macapagal, marami po yung mga walang trabaho. And dahil nga po wala silang trabaho, hirap po yung kanilang pamumuhay. And bumaba rin yung palitan ng peso. Foreigners could now buy and control more locally businesses easily because of the exchange rate. They were richer than the Philippines. Dahil nga po ang mababa yung exchange rate, ang mga foreigners po is madaling makontrol yung mga local businesses sa ating bansa. Ito po yung mga problems: revocation of 350 midnight appointments, corruption na hindi naman po mawawala sa gobyerno, rise in consumer goods price, peace and order issues. And dahil nga po mababa yung mahina po yung ekonomiya natin nung term ni Macapagal, tumaas din po yung mga presyo ng bilihin. Macapagal's privileged subjects in Congress and businesses paraded their lavish wealth in conspicuous parties and anomalous deals. Kahit po maraming problems nung term ni Macapagal, meron pa rin po mga achievements. As president, Macapagal worked to suppress graft and corruption and to stimulate the Philippine economy. Na yun naman po ang nagiging number one priority ng kahit na sinong presidente ng bansa. He is also known for the shifting the country's observance of Independence Day from July 4 to July 12. He encouraged the use of the Filipino language in diplomatic passports, school diplomas, traffic signs, and many more. Pinairal po ni Macapagal yung yung pagkaka-Pilipino po. Dahil po, pati po sa mga traffic signs, Filipino po yung ginagamit. He introduced the country's first land reform law, placed the peso on the free currency exchange market, and liberalized foreign exchange and import control. He also sponsored the notable projects like North and South Expressway, housing for soldiers and employees, beautification of Rizal Park, and establishment of Philippine Veterans Bank. Ito po yung mga programs: free enterprise and nationalism, establishing the base for socio-economic growth, development of agriculture and natural resources, social services and welfare program, commodity assistance program, need for efficiency and morally in government, national security, law and enforcement, national prospects under the socio-economic program, international relations, need for congressional support. Kahit po maraming nagawa si Diosdado Macapagal bilang presidente, isa lang po ang tumatak sa utak ng bawat Pilipino na namumuhay nung term ni Macapagal. Yun po ay, si Macapagal ay puro salita pero kulang sa gawa. Dahil marami po siyang pinangako nung tumatakbo pa lang siya, pero kakaunti lang ang natupad. Yun lamang po. Ako po si Mark Angel Luis Biliwanag. Ang mga kasama ko po si Cherry Ann Magno, si Jana Sarina Lucas. Yun lamang po at maraming salamat.